First of all, we continued a discussion on new EU support to Ukraine and exchanged views on options for support, including the Commission's proposal on the reparations loan based on the immobilized Russian assets. My takeaways is that the Commission's proposal is the best and most realistic option and should be treated as a matter of highest priority, and will continue working closely with all the Member States to explore the best way forward from here. It remains clear that continued EU leadership and unity is essential in supporting Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression, and will remain fully engaged to facilitate a decision at the European Council meeting in December.
Today the EU is disbursing additional 4.1 billion euros in financial support to Ukraine under the G7-led Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration Loans Initiative. This marks the final installment of the EU's 18.1 billion euros contribution to this initiative. The success of ERA Loans Initiative shows that Europe can act swiftly, decisively and effectively when necessary. And this is in this spirit as we must also approach the question related to further funding needs for Ukraine. And actually we began today's meeting with a productive discussion on options for providing additional financial support for Ukraine as requested by European Council. And as Minister already mentioned, the meeting saw broad support from Member States for the Commission to continue its work on the reparation loan. There was wide recognition that this option is the most feasible means of quickly bridging Ukraine's funding gap without placing additional substantial fiscal burden on Member States. The continuation of this work obviously includes engaging with Member States to address remaining concerns. We also discussed possible alternative options. It has to be noted that given the sustainability concerns and challenges Ukraine is facing, the support has to have strong grant-like features. So alternative option would be for the EU to fund the reparation loan to Ukraine through borrowing instead of using the cash balances associated with immobilized Russian assets. However, Member States would have to cover the interest cost of the loan until it's repaid to maintain grant-like support for Ukraine. And there are different modifications how exactly this borrowing can be structured. Yet another option would be to provide a similar level of support to Ukraine, but in form of grants, which would entail a large direct cost to Member States over the short period of time. So, as regards the options paper, we should be able to present the options paper shortly, and today's discussion will help inform Commission's thinking in this regard. Then it's important in parallel to engage with our allies and like-minded partners to provide Ukraine with liquidity already in the first quarter of next year, as Ukraine's financing needs are not only large but also urgent. We are under time pressure and must move forward in a constructive, pragmatic and cooperative way.
Belgium has criticized the Commission for insisting so much on the reparations loan and presenting it as the only viable option, which you just did. It has also criticized you for lacking a legal basis and for focusing your proposal exclusively on the assets held at Euroclear. How exactly do you reply to this criticism, and what can you offer that it's new and different to Belgium in order to change the dynamics? Because we've been running around the same circle since Copenhagen. And for the Minister, we know that Belgium is very much concerned about the potential of litigation from Russia and wants guarantees to cover not only the 140 billion in the loan, but also these potential costs from arbitrations and litigations. Do you think Member States should go beyond 140 and cover costs that are essentially hypothetical? Thank you both.
Yes. First of all member states agreed in today's meeting on the clear commitment to provide all necessary support to Ukraine and on urgency of doing so. Today's meeting has been indeed focusing not only on the reparation loan but on also other possible options. As I was outlining before, given the debt sustainability challenges of Ukraine, we do not have an option just to provide another loan as we had been doing before. So this support to Ukraine needs to have strong grant-like features. And reparation loan provides this option of doing so without placing substantial additional burden on fiscal burden on member states. There are other options, we discussed them, but obviously they come with higher fiscal costs for member states. So that's just the fact. And we need to be clear about this. As regards legal aspects of the proposal, of course, the Commission has been assessing it very carefully from the very beginning. That's why our proposal also stops short of confiscating the Russian assets. And actually, it does not go beyond what has been already agreed, that Russian assets should stay immobilized as long as Russia has not paid reparations. It's something which has been agreed at the European Council level and also at G7 level. So what we are, in a sense, elaborating here, what to do with those cash balances which have been accumulated in this context, in this period, until Russia would pay reparations. Obviously, there are risks to be addressed, and specifically in case of Belgium, and that is clearly something which European Commission is working on very seriously, and it's acknowledged also by other member states that obviously there needs to be solidarity on those risks, needs to be shared, and this engagement and work also with Belgian authorities in this regard is ongoing. But it has to be said that there are always risks associated with action and with containing the aggressor, but the risks of inaction and not containing the aggressor are even greater.
Yeah, and on the question on Belgium, let me just start by stressing there are still things in the euro loans that need clarification, that needs to be addressed, dialogue that needs to be made. And this is something that we need to do together. So of course, all member states should be on board, and the necessary things should be clarified.
Is it correct that the Commission has found it legally impossible to include third countries like Norway or the UK, for that matter, in a model of the reparation loans? And does that mean that the Commission do not operate with any models that include a cooperation with Norway on securing funding for Ukraine? Thanks.
Obviously, it's important that we also work with our international partners, including G7 partners, including other partners like Norway, and that they also meaningfully contribute to covering Ukraine's funding needs. And we continue this engagement. In my introductory remarks, I was mentioning that we are specifically raising the point with the partners on possibilities to front-load their financial support in the first quarter of next year to address Ukraine's urgent funding needs, because in our case it takes some time, as we see, to develop options and then actually to implement what eventually will be decided. So from that point of view, for example, UK and Canada have indicated that they are interested and ready to replicate reparation loan style approach linked with Russian immobilized sovereign assets they have in their territories. So, and we're also in touch with, for example, Japanese authorities countries on the same issue. Then, specifically on Norway, I had a meeting with Finance Minister Stoltenberg yesterday, and we discussed also the Ukraine support, where Norway outlined very sizable support they are providing to Ukraine so far, and this year it amounts to something between 7.2 and 7.3 billion euros, and they intend to provide the support of the same order of magnitude also next year. So Norway is certainly a partner which is cooperating and providing very substantial financial support to Ukraine.
So my understanding is that if you do that, you're going to require unanimity in the Council, whereas if you had an off-budget instrument, you'd only require qualified majority to go ahead. So the question is, why did you opt for this option, given that it seems that it would be more politically difficult to do this rather than to have an off-budget instrument? Thanks.
Actually, both options are possible. I also outlined that obviously one alternative option is to do a common borrowing, then on lend it to Ukraine with the same reparation loan logic, and then it's important that member states or EU budget is covering the interest costs. For example, when we were detailing the original reparation loan option, we are looking at all those different elements, and different member states actually are expressing different preferences concerning the headroom or this borrowing against member states' guarantees. So as most practical solution going forward, we were foreseeing member state guarantees in a short term during this MFF, whereas foreseeing also possibility to move so to say use of EU budget headroom in the next MFF. But from that point of view, if we are considering this option of common borrowing, there are different modalities possible, and indeed, depending on modalities you choose, it may imply also different decision-making structures, including in the case of MFF, obviously unanimity. But since we are tasked to look at the different options, we are looking at those different options, and it has to be noted that they are not very easy options available. All options come with certain financial or legal or political challenges.
Yeah, and if I may add, then of course, when you list different options, say if this is difficult, why do you present that options? Then basically, it's also important to say that when we point to the reparations loans as being the best way forward, then it's also because there are no easy solutions here. We don't grow money trees, and we don't have magic hats with rabbits in or any silver bullets. So basically, it's also a reflection of how difficult it is to find a number of viable options.
I would like to come back to Ukrainian question. Did you discuss the ongoing corruption scandal in Ukraine? Was it raised during the ministers' talks? What were the reactions of the ministers? Were some ministers expressing the concerns about maybe trustability of Ukrainian government in dealing with EU funds? And do you predict any difficulties with future financing of Ukraine due to these corruption questions? It's a question for both speakers. Thank you.
Do you want to start?
Obviously, we take the issue of fight against corruption in Ukraine very seriously, and also our financial support we are providing to Ukraine already for many years is always linked also with conditionality concerning anti-corruption, and pretty much all the so to say, anti-corruption institutional system in Ukraine has been developed, linked with those financial support from EU, but also from IMF, and this is also a issue which is very high on our agenda in a context of Ukraine's path towards European Union. So we were not discussing the specific issue today. That's for general background. But then obviously, on one hand, you can look at this as a major corruption scandal, but on the other hand, you can also look at this as a proof that this anti-corruption system in Ukraine is actually delivering results, and that it's Ukrainian anti-corruption authorities which are able to go against corruption cases, including to the highest level.
I have nothing to add to that.